The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Guns up.
Giddy up. Kind of regret that one.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like I should take it back.
There's no take-backs on the interwebs, my friend. I learned that this week.
It's there forever. Yeah, man.
It is there forever.
You've had quite a ride this week on your personal social media. It hasn't been on the public-facing side, really, right? Well, I mean,
no, I guess not.
Or personal side.
No.
You almost just, tanked your own business for having an opinion.
Maybe we put this
Mocking
out to the Wolfpack. What do they think?
Maybe. Tonight, guys, welcome to the show, Wolfpack. We're on a night shift episode here, coming at you from undisclosed locations. We don't know who killed JFK. If you came here looking for the answers, I mean, we'll talk about it. Last time we did any conspiracy talking, we got banned off of YouTube. We're back now. We'll see. We pleaded with the CIA to let this video stay up. In the description of the video, we'll see if they play along. But thanks for coming to hang out with us for a little bit. This is for entertainment purposes only and discussion. This is not an assertion of facts, real or imagined. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. I don't know whatever I need to say to keep this video up. We'll see. But I don't know. We don't know. I don't know. Was it the CIA? Was it Russia? Was it Castro? Was it some pissed off dude whose wife was banging JFK in secret portals inside the White House? I don't know. We're going to talk about it, though.
All I know is I'm glad that technology has gotten to where you now, when you speak out against the CIA, you just get shadow banned.
Yeah.
And not like
not real
banned.
banned. Yeah. Not like permanently banned.
And now it's just a shadow banning. Back then it was full-on assassination.
Full-on banned. Joseph Harper is in the Wolfpack chat tonight. Guns up, giddy up. This is my first time catching the live stream. Well, welcome aboard. We appreciate your attendance today, your participation in this live stream. Hopefully the chat will be lit. We can drop the Mint Mobile number now, later. We are going to take your guys' calls if you feel like you have maybe you know something and you want to put yourself on the list that you don't Epstein yourself. I don't know. Boston Joe will have people knocking on his door any minute now. From his comments, we'll see what goes on. Welcome to the show. This is Failure to Stop. We have a variety of kind of like styles of shows, guys. We do news breakdowns. We do case breakdowns. We interview guests. We bring them onto the show and talk to them, converse, and we also just kind of do night shift, where it's a topic that we pick that we think you'll enjoy, that cops would talk about and argue about and smoke and joke about car to car, and you're invited into the process. So tonight is the JFK assassination. Why? Because we both just watched the new Oliver Stone documentary. I guess it's exclusive to Showtime right now until, I think he said, for 4 months, and then it'll go everywhere. It's foreign available everywhere. Outside of the States, you can watch it now, and then it'll be widely released after Showtime has its exclusive stuff. But I watched it, and I heard about Operation Northwood, which we talked about last time. You educated everyone on, Eric. And we're going to get into JFK stuff, but You almost got banned off of your personal social media this week. You got canceled. People are trying to cancel you. Do you want to tell this story, or does it matter?
I mean, it doesn't matter. I guess. But I guess to be in like full context of it, I would. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Athletic Brewing Free Wave Hazy IPA, non-alcoholic brew.
Oh, look at you. Look at you.
That's right,
getting
baby.
fit. Getting fit. But we have the social media here in the town I live in, which is a very small town. But this Facebook group, it's called Clayton NC Moms. And it's a private group. You have to be a Clayton mom to be in the group. And it's absolute insanity. My wife doesn't social media. So I don't really get any information from her, but I have another friend who happens to work in a close career field. She's a nurse. I was a cop. So, you meet these folks on the job, and she happened to be a part of this group. And one of the things that still to this day happens is I get screenshots from all the crazy posts that they put in this Clayton, North Carolina moms group. So I guess the post she sent me the other night says, "Okay, ladies, my husband has been having some issues down there. He basically was having issues getting it up and then was diagnosed with urethritis and took antibiotics for it. Then we tried again and didn't even last maybe 2 minutes. We tried again during foreplay and he basically went in his pants." And it just goes on and on for like two more paragraphs. So I think that's so ridiculous that I screenshot it. And then I put it on my own Facebook page, and I say, Clayton NC Moms never disappoints. Well, let me tell you, I got a lot of hateful messages. One lady's husband reached out.
I feel sorry for that lady's husband, whoever that is.
I do too. My argument to the whole thing is social media isn't real, and this group has 8.4 thousand members in it. You can't really believe that it's private if there's 8.4 thousand people in the group, all in one town. It's not like a nationwide group. I don't know. Am I wrong?
No. Well, I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, like, did it have the people's names on there?
No, I deleted it. I mean, well, the other screenshot, which wasn't as bad, it did have the lady's name on it. I didn't. I didn't.
That might have been what did you in.
Yeah.
That might have been what did you in.
But why post? I mean, if you're not going to stand by it, why post it?
Oh, I thought it was private. I thought it was in the privacy of our 9,000 people that live here.
Right? Like, if you don't think that all those wives aren't
not going back and gossiping about your husband doing whatever in his pants.
So anyway, yes, lots of messages, lots of people disappointed in me. And that's, listen, if I could go back and not have posted it, would I? Sure. But at the time, I thought that was funny as shit. And I thought the people in the world need to know what goes on in the Clayton NC Moms groups. I mean, do husbands know that their wives are talking about their erectile dysfunction around 8.4 thousand other women in that same town? I wouldn't want people to know that.
I couldn't get it up with a woman like that either. If she's that kind of mom that posts stuff in groups.
That's stupid.
It's an instant turnoff if you're a mom in a Facebook group like that. You deserve the hate that's coming to you.
You end up like losing your wife for whatever reason, cancer or something, and you have to go out in like dating worlds, and Mike's just sitting like face to face, and he's like, "Are you a part of any NC mom groups?" And they're like, "Maybe. Why?" And you're like, "If so, that's a deal breaker for me."
Man, JFK, dude. Holy cow.
Let's go. Actually, you know what? I was watching this documentary when I posted that. So maybe the CIA knew that I was learning about the assassination and was trying to go. They're already starting to burn me, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's start with this. Okay, so here's the framework, guys. Obviously, everyone knows about the assassination itself. Oliver Stone, who it turns out was in the military, served in Vietnam, has 2 Purple Hearts, I believe. I didn't know that. And he's done a variety of documentaries, stuff that I didn't. He was recently on Joe Rogan, and I learned about other documentaries that he's done that I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to go back and see his other stuff around other topics. He's really big into history. And he did the JFK film with what's his nuts on Yellowstone. Who's that guy? Dances with Wolves. Why am I freaking
Kevin
drawing-
Costner.
Kevin Costner. Thank you.
You named all the movies except his best, which was Waterworld, by the way.
I never, honest to God, I'd never seen Waterworld.
Oh, it's amazing.
I've
That
never
and The
watched
Postman. The
You're not
Postman was
missing out.
great.
Did you see it? You've seen it?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Really?
My wife
I
hates
heard it was
too.
bad, but I don't
loved
know
it.
anything
I
about
thought
it.
it was
It's
great.
It's kind of funny though.
What has it got on IMDb?
Oh, I don't-
Let's find out.
It was the most expensive movie made in its time.
Oh, wow.
I saw Waterworld in theaters by myself.
I saw it in
It is
theaters as well.
Epic.
I loved it. And I also like Postman with Kevin Costner, post-apocalyptic Postman.
Can't
badass.
say I've seen that either.
Missing out.
I don't know.
It has actually a 6.2 on IMDb, which is
It means there's hope.
watchable.
It means there's hope. If it's in the
Yeah.
sixes, it's watchable.
On
Anything
Rotten
below
Tomatoes, it's
6 is
46,
either
but-
going to be a real niche preference.
Yeah, IMDb's I feel like is the most.
It's the most
trustworthy.
reliable.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes is out the window.
Yeah,
Forget
no,
it.
it's
Forget it.
Didn't they give like a Sandlot a really bad rating back in the day? And it's like one of the
Who,
best
Rotten
movies
Tomatoes?
ever. No, like everybody. It was
Oh.
really poorly rated when it came out.
How could you hate that movie? That's that's a great movie.
Right?
Wow.
Fantastic movie.
So then so Oliver Stone was responsible for that movie. Like, man, I think that was 1991-ish. And then now this documentary. And the reason that what's driving this documentary, if you haven't seen it, is in the early 90s, Congress passed a bill basically unsealing a ton of previously sealed documentation surrounding the JFK assassination, which then became publicly available at the National Archives, some of which you can only see in person. You cannot take photos. You cannot copy it in any way. Other things you can photograph, make copies of, et cetera, et cetera. And Oliver Stone sort of like catches us up to the investigation and interest in this case in the now. And I really loved it. I thought it had me start to finish engaged. What did you think overall? Were you like, this is nothing I didn't know, or did you
No,
feel like,
I thought it was really good. I don't know, man. The whole thing makes me so upset because it's like, one, because everybody keeps calling people conspiracy theorists and making it out to be like that people that believe in conspiracies are, crazy wackadoos or whatever. But I mean, I really do believe that conspiracies do exist. And, being a law enforcement officer and somebody who looks at crime and looks at evidence. I mean, if you were a professional, if you're law enforcement, if you're an investigator and you look at the evidence as it's presented in this case, it leaves you nothing but questions. It's such a shoddy investigation. It's terrible.
Oh, it is terrible. From a cop perspective, right? There is no way, and agree or disagree, Tansy, no way that if Oswald was put on trial, even back then, with the evidence that was properly handled and documented, would he have been convicted or no? Do you think, or should he have been convicted based on that evidence?
No, they found the gun, right? So like you would have to have
Found a gun.
They found a gun. So I mean, was there fingerprints on the gun? I mean, do we have witnesses that say that they saw him go up the stairs? Did we not have any witnesses?
That's all covered in this
Well,
documentary.
I understand that it's covered in this documentary, but you were talking about a trial back then, as it's laid out before you. What does the government bring to the table? Because obviously this documentary, we don't know that he didn't have people that contradicted those statements. I mean, he had those 3 women that say they were the only ones up there, but we don't know if there's a 4th woman that was like, wait a minute, I was up there and I did see him, So in court, that's what I'm saying is in court, you're going to get different things than what you're going to get from a documentary.
Yeah, that's very true. The what did you feel like? I'm trying to think about the best place to start this conversation because there's a lot to it. But they did cover fingerprints on the gun or lack thereof, and a bunch of stuff. Even doctored photos of Oswald they have in there. But what would you say was something that after you watched this documentary you felt like, wow, I didn't know that? What was it that you learned?
The commission that the commission that they sat on, the assassination
Warren
commission.
Yeah.
Man, have you ever seen the movie Shooter?
I don't think so. Man, I'm like 0 for 3 tonight on movies. Wow.
But anyway, the Shooter, the movie, which is great. I probably watch it twice a year. Even the bad politician in the Shooter that does all the assassination stuff, he even looks like the guy that's super corrupt on that commission.
The former CIA director.
Yeah, and so like that, JFK. I mean, I knew that JFK had fired them and was trying to dismantle the CIA and all of those things. I didn't realize that they changed the holes in his back to match the one bullet theory. Yeah. Which, to me, the one bullet theory is probably the biggest slap in the face of all of this. Like, no, it's just so unreasonable. And that's the problem I have with the government right now is that the lies, they keep lying until enough people just believe the lie. Like even when they're caught dead in their tracks, they're like criminals that you arrest, right? Like, when you arrest that guy and you're like, whose fucking drugs are wrapped around your nutsack? And he's like, that's not my nutsack. I don't know whose balls those are. Those aren't mine. That's not my dope. And you're like, dude, it's taped to your penis. It's not my penis. That's essentially what the government is doing with this whole one bullet theory. Like it's not real. Everybody knows it's not real. Why do you keep saying it as if it's real? And we all know it's not.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's mind numbing. I feel like what I learned coming out of this that I had no idea about before. And we're live, guys, so I'm going to reference people in the comments sometimes. And if you're just listening afterwards, that's the punishment you have for not listening live or watching live. Someone asked, again, Mike, really? Something like that. I don't know what he's talking about up there somewhere. Yeah, that's at Red Leg TV. Again, Mike, really? I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, it's up there. But anyway, Red Leg, comment back. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe we can figure it out. Here's what I didn't know. First of all, I did not know about the plot involving Valley in Chicago, where very similar circumstances, both he and Oswald had both been stationed on joint bases in Japan that had CIA connections. He definitely trained some Cubans, and Oswald is presumed or at least asserted that he had. So there was a similarity there. Both similar white dude builds. Both of them transferred to a location for work and got a job in a higher rise facility near an upcoming motorcade. So all of these similarities, but that plot kind of fell apart. And then when it fell apart, some people got arrested and the president actually canceled his trip to Chicago. So it got foiled. And there was another plot in Tampa. So there was multiple things happening, and it seemed like the Dallas one is what finally came through, I guess, or worked. They had it set up. It was like there was a redundancy set up to make sure that if it fails in Chicago, we try Tampa. If it fails in Tampa, we try Dallas. And they had multiple plans to make sure that this happened. I had no idea about these other threats.
Yeah, I see in the comments, this one person was like, I'd going to read whatever book that they're talking about. And she says, but typically I don't do conspiracies. And like, we've turned conspiracies into like such a bad word. And it's like such a negative thing that people that believe in conspiracies are nuts. But if you look at the real definition of what a conspiracy is, it's a secret plan made by two or more people to do something that is harmful or illegal. You know what I mean? The act of secretly planning to do something that is harmful or illegal. So if you plan to secretly rob somebody, then you're guilty of conspiracy. It is a real crime. Conspiracies do happen. Tiger King, that was a whole conspiracy that he's in jail for.
Right. Yeah, when you think about it, when people say, when there's crazy conspiracy theories, right? Like odd connections, and we want to have explanations for things that sometimes don't have clear explanations. But at the end of the day, it is not a stretch to think that a few people with nefarious intent to benefit themselves, if no one else, why does anybody commit a crime, right? Because there's some kind of gain in it for them. Why can't that happen at the highest levels? I mean, we'd be stupid to think that human nature ends at a certain political level. I mean, if anything, it's worse at the top than it is at the bottom.
Yeah. So I saw that Boston Joe in the chat had said something about Biden did something about covering classifying the declassified evidence. So I just looked it up. I haven't fact checked this or anything like that. But Politico, which is a website, I don't know, Jimmy, do you have that to bring up or no?
I see something on the screen, what Biden is keeping secret in the JFK files.
It says President Joe Biden has once again delayed the public release of thousands of government secrets that might shed light on the 1963 assassination of President JFK. Temporary continued postponement is necessary. This is a quote by Biden. Temporary continued postponement is necessary to protect against identifiable harm to the military defense, intelligence operations, law enforcement, or the conduct of foreign relations that is of such gravity that it outweighs the public interest in the immediate disclosure. That was written by Biden on a memorandum.
It was not written by Biden.
Well, it says that it was a quote written by Biden on October 24th, 2021. What did he say?
He's making fun of your speech. 21st.
24th. Dick.
In other news, President Joe Biden has asserted that
South Park
these documents are so secretive and important that no one can know what happened except him, and he will lick some ice cream onto these reports.
Because they'll know that, like, once they find out that the CIA freaking whacked JFK, he's going to be like, well, shit, then everybody's going to know that the CIA got me elected. And we're banned.
And it's over. Overpaid producer linked that Politico article in the chat, guys, if you want to check it out for yourselves, what we were referencing. So there was that, the Patsy plans that were going on. I didn't know about that. I did not know that there was a Secret Service agent that sort of like questioned some of the evidentiary process that was later jailed for 6 years. And I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he was a black dude, too.
He was a black dude. He was the first first black Secret Service guy assigned to
So I thought that was
White
funny
House
because I was
president.
like, oh, how stereotypical of the white ran U.S. government in the 1970s. Like, shit, dude, we need a scapegoat. Black dude, come here.
Since I'm racist, I don't remember the guy's name. So
Abraham Bolden.
Yeah, Abraham Bolden.
Yeah. So I did not know that there was a Secret Service agent that had questioned anything about this and then ended up somehow in jail. Maybe he did something for real wrong or not. The documentary didn't really explain, and sometimes there's like other circumstances that we don't know about, and no one documentary is going to answer every single question that you would have to dig deeper. But I didn't know.
Yeah,
about
they said that he was jailed for accepting a bribe in relation to counterfeiting case he was involved with. Convicted by a jury, he was ultimately sentenced to 6 years. But his bribery charges were attempting to sell a government file to Joseph Spagnoli Jr. in exchange for $50,000. The file was evidence for a case in which Spagnoli was named the head of a counterfeiting ring.
Interesting. What's interesting is that I'm sure you've come across people who are guilty of one crime, but that doesn't make them a liar, if that makes sense. It doesn't make that they're questioning or bringing to light of something else is de facto false either, right?
Right.
There's a story, man, it'd be kind of cool to get this guy on the podcast sometime to tell his story. Forget this guy, everybody. You are all, including the Wolfpack, my witnesses to get this guy on. I cannot remember his name. He was on a show. It's a true crime podcast called Sword and Scale, and it was a little bit of a different type of episode than what they normally do. But this guy did B&Es, basically. Broke into people's homes, stole their shit, went and pawned it, whatever else. And he broke into one house, and he got into the safe and discovered a stash of child porn and found himself in a really, kind of a rock and a hard place situation, right? Where, wow, if I turn this guy in, I also have to turn myself in for this crime. And he did. And he went to prison and served his time. But was like, hey, I yes, what I'm doing is wrong. I'm breaking into people's homes and stealing items and selling them, but we've said on the show before, everybody should be able to agree that harming kids is a bad idea, and he did. So just because it's like, well, he can't be trusted because he's a thief.
Right.
Well, I mean, maybe, but that doesn't automatically mean what he's bringing to light isn't true. And so with Bolden, what buttons did he push for who? I don't know how related his jail time and that case are, and is it, I don't know the facts of that case, but there's so many layers to this, and that's what they're counting on, right? There's so many layers to this that it becomes very, very difficult to actually discern and piece it together from the outside.
But talking evidence alone, and being that we're ex-law enforcement officers and we're used to dealing with evidence, but shit, I would say a reasonable person, these YouTube investigators, I mean, if you look at the evidence that's presented, I mean, like I said, when and have you ever investigated a crime where everybody wanted there to be one theory and not another? And I'm referencing the one bullet theory. Like, why does everybody give a shit that there was only one bullet? Like, why won't anybody even tease the fact that there might not have been a bullet? And you have different doctors saying that there were entry wounds from the front and entry wounds from the back. I tend to, the skull fragment being blown out the backside of the head to me it's
not an entry wound.
It's not an entry wound. That is something exiting the back of a man's skull.
But what about the fact that his head seems to, when that happens, his head seems to go forward? You know what I'm saying? Like, you see it on camera, and then it looks like his head is sent forward.
Well, have you ever seen the video? And like I said, that shot, I'm not saying that it definitely came from the front. It just appears to me. But have you ever seen the video where the girl is playing with the dude's gun and the guy's like, yo, stop messing with my gun. They're both in the car. And she's like, wow, you scared? You scared? And then she accidentally shoots him.
No.
It's a horrific video. It happened like 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Did she do it on live? Wait,
Yeah.
that wasn't the one where he put a book in front of himself or something like that?
No.
Tried to stop a 50 cal or something?
No, she's in the car. They're like two thugs in a car. Okay. She's trying to act all gangster, and she picks up his Glock, and she's like waving it at him. She's like, "Oh, I'm bad. And he's like, "Put that gun down." She's like, "Why? You scared? You don't trust me? You don't trust me?" And she accidentally pulls the trigger, and shoots him right in the head. Well, the gun goes off, and he doesn't even move. And then you just see this massive flow of blood just like pour out of his skull, and he slumps forward. But I watched that like 3 or 4 times because he blinks and looks at her like, "What the fuck did you just do?" But he didn't even move.
Wounds are weird. They're not consistent. It's not like the same thing doesn't happen to different bodies with the same calibers or firearms involved. It's a very interesting phenomena how people react when getting shot. Overpaid producer says she didn't pull the trigger. I don't know who did, but it wasn't me. Alec Baldwin style. That's the best defense.
But also, he slumped forward, but he took one right in the neck, right?
The first one, so on the video, you see him holding his throat. And the doctors also said that was an entry wound. All of the initial doctors that examined him, some of them recanted after they were told to. Right, the autopsy stuff is what a mess. When they scoop it, they actually illegally took the body from the hospital in Dallas to Bethesda. That was an illegal move because by Texas law, they would have had to have concluded their investigation. Like that, his body needed to be there until they concluded their investigation because the crime occurred in their jurisdiction. And so they need to be able to have the opportunity to actually investigate the crime in their jurisdiction. And so the body was removed quickly and taken to Bethesda, where 2 people that did the autopsy had never, ever, ever done an autopsy with gunshot wounds. And now you're talking about going from never doing any autopsies with gunshot wounds to multiple people being shot from multiple angles potentially. I mean, what a nightmare scenario.
And then they ask for, they're like, dude, this is way above our pay grade. We can't do this. And they're like, nope, you'll just do it yourself.
Too bad. Here's the basics of what we think happened, so just go with that.
Yeah,
that's essentially what they were told.
What I'm talking about is like, why do people care so much if there's 1 bullet or 2 bullet or 3 bullets? That in itself makes you wonder, okay, have you ever been to an investigation where the detective is like, no, we are going on this, and that is it. This guy was shot by 1 person. No, if somebody else thinks that there might have been 2 shooters, you're gonna tease that until you've proven that it's an impossibility. But in this case, there's no way. They didn't even tease it. They didn't even look at it. They didn't celebrate that at all. So how do we know that there wasn't a second shooter? Because they didn't go through the process to rule it out.
No, they came up with their theory and they went with it, and that's all it seems like that's all that they wanted to hear.
And this isn't the first time this has happened. I mean, they did the same thing with Amelia Earhart. They were like, it has to be in this quadrant of the ocean. She had to have made this far. They refused to look anywhere else. And then when they finally found her body, now they're like, oh, they're coming up with every excuse in the world not to bring it up. Because they don't want this guy, this math teacher from wherever he's from, that he mathematically tracked that plane down and found it in the ocean with the 2 bodies in it, undeniably the plane, and the government won't go get it or won't put any time and effort into it because there's wrong. But they now made it a theory, even after like 8 years of him trying to say like, look, I have it. I dove down there. I've seen it myself. Here are the pictures. They're like, no, it's impossible. She didn't go that way. And he's like, well, mathematically, yes, she did. And it's, there's a great, if you haven't checked out Lure, the podcast, L-O-R-E, Lure, they do a whole breakdown.
L-O-R-E, Lure?
Yeah. It's a good.
There's another
good
podcast, somebody in the Wolfpack mentioned Black Ops Radio, Len Asonics or something. I glanced at it here. I tried to jot it down as I saw the comment. There's a podcast each week where he brings on experts surrounding the JFK case. So that's something that if you guys are interested in this, to go back and look at, there you go.
So Bill Fast, we just said that. Like, if you believe in conspiracy, all you will see is conspiracy. That's not true, because conspiracies are real. Like,
here's
you can
the deal,
be a
right?
wild conspiracy theorist, but you can't be afraid to question things and look at things as if somebody conspired to do them, because as a cop, I've seen it a lot of times. People conspire
there's a
to
difference
rob,
between
steal.
conspiracy and schizophrenia. There's a difference
Right.
between those things, right? Conspiracy, someone killed JFK. There was without a doubt a conspiracy to kill JFK. That's by definition, that is an undeniably factual statement, right? The question is, who did it and why, right? The documentary hints at the who being, well, there is evidence that Oswald was involved in some way, but we don't really know the extent. But it doesn't seem that he could have acted alone in the way that the shots happened. And there's other evidence that other people were involved that was shut out by the Warren Commission. And there's been dead ends and a variety of people looking at other angles and getting shut out by the government to try to find out.
All we heard was conspiracies for the Trump administration. All they talked about was Russian collusion and these secret meetings on tarmacs. I mean, so is it okay? Like, if you're to believe in a conspiracy theory, if it's a president you don't like versus you do like, I don't know. And I think after, and I've always said this about the JFK thing. It's like, it makes me angry that the government thinks we're so dumb. Like, this was such a shoddy investigation. It was so bad from start to finish. I mean, where they replaced the 1 bullet theory is the most asinine thing in the world to me, because it's like scientifically impossible. I mean, you're talking like a Big Bang. You're talking like a Big Bang Theory moment happening with a bullet.
Yeah, it's and bullets do weird things.
Yeah, 100%, but not that weird.
They tested. How many times? Do you remember if it was like 100 shots where they took the same type of rifle, the same type of
lots of people
round,
have done it.
And they shot it through the equivalent of the wrist bone, and what the bullet did every single time. Every single time was not at all like the bullet that they supposedly have recovered that did all that damage. Like this, it truly would be a magic bullet. And the why behind conspiracies is really what this documentary opened up my eyes to even further, which is a heavy curtain to try to pull back, right? Which is that when JFK comes on the scene as president, the CIA already has documented plans to assassinate the then newly elected leader of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And JFK systematically, through policy changes, was moving for and executing on changes that would have reduced the power and the scope and reach and influence of the CIA. That's also undeniably a fact. And so you have to follow the money, follow the power. Cui bono, right? Who benefits? Like who stood to benefit by ensuring that JFK was out of the way, right? I mean, these are valid questions because it's not just some dude named Lee Harvey Oswald that decides to pull off the most incredible, scientifically impossible. And I know that there's been people that have like shown that they can shoot a moving target from that close, right? But not in the way that they say it did. Like no one's been able to recreate exactly what they say happened. And if it would be plausible, why can't we recreate that?
I just think, and I just think it's like, why can't you question it? And that's what to me is so crazy about the case to me. That's what stood out to me in the documentary. I know there's a lot of things that, if you look at it, everything can be a conspiracy. I get it. But that's why I'm hung up on the one bullet theory, because to me, out of all the things that they mentioned in this documentary, the single bullet theory to me is, and it's not even the fact that the bullet passed through all of those different things, through somebody's neck, out their chest, into their back, out their chest, through their wrist, into their thigh, and there's not a nick or scratch on the bullet. And they found the bullet on the floor by a janitor in the hospital with no chain of custody on a gurney. So then the bullet just worked its way back out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just so bad. Like, it's so like the impossibilities on that one single thing. And the fact that they just hold their guns to it and don't want to question the science, it really scares me, because science is supposed to be questioned. And if you're a good investigator, if you're a good homicide investigator, that should be the first question you ask is, how the fuck did the bullet get out? And let's test this until we can just absolutely rule that this bullet is a single bullet theory. And what is the problem in thinking that there was two people? Why is that why does that make you such a crazy person to believe that two people could have shot at JFK? Why does it matter? Yeah. Why does the government want you to not think that there were two people? That's bonkers.
Jimmy says he also wasn't wearing a mask. That's why he died. He wasn't wearing a mask. Yeah. That's how he died.
Yeah.
Well, he tested positive for COVID and was overwhelming that hospital.
Boy, we're really pissing off YouTube tonight, aren't we?
It's night shift. Man. This is exactly what cops would be talking about.
This is exactly what cops would be doing car to car right now.
And you're always going to have the one sergeant that knows everything because he's a sergeant. Just like as if like the stripes give you like this all-knowing knowledge of everything. Like, and that's another funny thing is that just because you have stripes on your shoulder, it means like you're good and proficient at your job. Doesn't mean you need to know everything about building things or architectural stuff or engineering shit or, a leader of all things conspiracies. But you'd have that sergeant there would be like, no, that's impossible. I worked a case, blah, blah, blah. And they would just be like, all of a sudden they would have all of the knowledge about a bullet working its way back out of the body. It's just, I could see this happening right now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Somebody said that they sent a text. I don't know if we have anybody. So if you want to call in, did we put the number up yet for our mobile line? If you want to try to send a text with, who you are and what you want to bring up, we can bring you on. It's especially helpful if you saw the documentary. What I want to know from you guys specifically is when you watch this latest documentary, or some of the stuff that we've been bringing up, what's something that people just don't the average person does not realize about this case? What is something that the average person does not know about the JFK assassination that people ought to know? And here's why this is important. I think Oliver Stone makes a really valid point to this, which is that we should be students of history. Like, it should matter to us. Like, the leader of the free world was taken off the face of the earth by who? That's a big deal.
Yeah.
We should want to know who did that and why. And I disagree with the president. I think it is in the best interest of everyone to know and understand why that would happen.
Yeah, not if they were doing like illegal and fucked up shit, and the world's about to find out that they've been doing that, and nobody's answered for it.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
I wish there was a reckoning, right? Like, wouldn't that be so great?
Like some comeuppance, like
was just everything about our government was just laid bare. But we have given over. I mean, we have long since lost the ability to fight that battle, man.
Yeah.
Like, they have.
Well, I think JFK
so
realized
much
that
power
because
and
he wrote
control.
that letter that was declassified. That he wrote that letter saying, from me speaking as the president, this is what we're going to do, but I can't atone or account for what the CIA is going to do. And oftentimes I don't know who's in charge. I mean, he wrote that they put it in that documentary. I don't remember who wrote it, but I mean, even he was
like he's afraid. Like, I don't know. He told, who did he tell the new French president at the time or something?
Yeah.
French prime
Yeah,
minister.
that's what it was. Yep.
That he's like, I don't know. Wasn't even sure who to trust himself. You would think that the CIA answering to the president as the leader of the executive branch, you would think that they would have more control. But the
it pisses
CIA
me off because, like,
was
when you
given
hear that,
such carte blanche.
When you hear something like that coming from a guy of that caliber, and then you hear what Malone said on Joe Rogan's podcast, all the things that were briefed and weren't briefed and things that took place, at the highest levels, like even Trump was the one that come up with a vaccine. He's like, whoa, we never fucking briefed you on a vaccine. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? It upsets me. It makes me mad to know that the government thinks we're just that dumb.
Yeah. Somebody, I think Amber had posted in the comments something about, did you see the gun in the front seat or something like that? Of course I would see a gun on the driver's. He was a Secret Service driver.
Yeah, I think everybody should have had guns. I mean, it would have been dope if, what's her name?
Every Secret Service agent is going to
instead of crying over him, oh, my husband's got his head blown off. It would have been dope if she pulled out a machine gun and got to work.
They have MP5s under their freaking suit coats, man. Those suits are special suits that they wear too. They're not like, they're tailored for the guns that they carry.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise to me at all to know that there was a gun inside. There is always going to be a firearm near the president. There will be, because there's a Secret Service agent usually within a reaching distance of him.
But like, how crazy is it that Oswald was on a secret CIA Japanese base station there, and then he defects to Russia, and then he comes back and answers, and like they allow him back into our country, and like, get the fuck out of here, man.
I got a question. DB Cooper, where did he go?
What?
That's the person's question. It just says, DB Cooper, where did he
Well, why don't you give him the phone number and tell him to call in and expound on his question, because I don't know who DB Cooper is.
Mike, you're my favorite cop. Thanks, Mark M. I appreciate that.
Fuck you, Mark.
You're my favorite Mark
Amber
Cooper.
says that the gun was pointed at the president, though.
Nah.
You know what I want to? Nah. You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about the dude with the black umbrella, right? Like, we hear the whole conspiracy that the guy with the black umbrella. Like, have you seen the pictures of the dude with the black umbrella?
Yeah.
Just Google that shit. Like, it's a beautiful, perfectly sunny day, like not a cloud in the fucking sky, and this asshole's standing.
Traveler.
Oh my gosh, Hagner the Viking, loving the content.
He's done a big donation like this before too.
Hagner the Viking, my gosh, thank you for the support. We appreciate that.
Yeah, but wasn't
Especially
it like
since
in
we don't
like
have any sponsors for the?
Oh dang!
This
Thanks,
episode.
Hagner.
Nice.
Actually, we do.
Thank you.
We actually have Ghostbed for this one. I have to do an ad read soon.
Keep it coming, Hagnar.
Yeah, we got Ghostbed.
Here's the ad read for Ghostbed.
Agnar, you are.
I have a Ghostbed. I have a Ghostbed Flex, and it is freaking awesome.
Oh yeah.
So
You
buy
know what?
one.
You have been less cranky lately, and you've been answering your phone a lot more and responding quickly to text. Had to be something.
Quicklier.
More quicklier.
Fine, quickly on your
You were more quicklier.
Deflect to the text.
It was more quicklier. It's night shift, baby. I pre-gamed. I have sauce.
Quickliest. I'm the quickliest mofo round.
More
quicklier.
quicklier.
Ghostbed Flex. We did. When you order a Ghostbed, you go through like the. You can. I mean, I suppose you can just order whatever you want. But there's like a quiz, like, and it's got the information.
Question 1: Who killed JFK?
They're not staying. Laster Lopez has like comment of the night every episode. So you go on to Ghostbed, and they have like this quiz that you take to decide which of the variety of mattress styles that work. And so it was Ghostbed Flex for me. And dang, man, freaking awesome. Awesome. I absolutely love it. And it's legit. Like we're not just saying.
Yeah.
There's a reason Ghostbed has been a flagship sponsor of the network for years. It's because people love it. So get one.
Yeah, get one. Use that promo code Drinkin' Bros. DRINKIN Bros. Still got 30% off right now, I think, or more. But I want to go back to that the Black Umbrella dude theory. So I don't think that the Black Umbrella guy would have shot him because that would be dumb, right? But wouldn't you need, like, if you're, and I'm not a sniper, okay? So, but maybe you have a guy like he passes the umbrella, and now you've got a distance in time. If you watch the movie Shooter, the flags have got to be the right way, the wind's got to be all the things. Maybe the Black Umbrella was just a marker. Like once he passes that Black Umbrella, he's at 100 yards or whatever.
I don't know, man.
Guys,
Tina Burgess said JFK
somebody's on the
wasn't
phone.
assassinated.
Yes,
he faked his death and went to Kalamazoo.
Hold
And
on.
what the fuck?
Mike.
Why are you talking over me? It's my show.
I wanted to add to your conspiracy theory. I do actually believe there were two bullets. There's no way one could have just entered and ended it all. One had to come from the front, and one had to come from the back.
Or I'm not even opposed to arguing that there wasn't 3 in his fucking back. But I know there's like that one bullet theory where that one bullet like shot through both dudes, multiple body parts. Like it's just so and the fact that the bullet is perfect. Like there's not a nick or a scratch on the bullet. That's ludicrous, right?
Well, that's probably not the bullet that did it. I can believe that a bullet entered Kennedy's back and then also entered.
What was it? A 7.5
Governor.
Carcano that entered into Kennedy?
Yeah, and then it went through him.
It was a 7.5 Carcano, and there was a channel that I actually watched. That
I
did
watched the
something
same
similar
video.
to that. Okay, so Jimmy should know what I'm talking. Is it Brandon Herrera?
Yeah, where he
you're right.
shoots all the water
Yeah.
jugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's only one entrance wound. But if we're talking 2 different bullets, then we're talking 2 different ballistics from 2 different angles, which totally throws in a monkey wrench.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think you're.
Yeah. What do you do for a living, homie?
I do horse ranching, and
Oh, shit.
occasionally I like to shoot large caliber rifles.
Hell yeah, man. We didn't know if you were a cop working the beat or God forbid a fireman, but ranchers.
I love my men in blue, and I love to hear from.
That's awesome.
I love my men in blue too.
Now, when you shoot your high caliber, when you
Set yourself up for that one.
Come on, let Transy say his thing. Sorry, I just love
I like to interrupt.
when you're
my
shooting your
favorite.
high caliber rifles at things, is it pretty clear and obvious when you have an entry wound and an exit wound? Right? Like the exit wounds are always going to be bigger, or have you ever shot and been like, shit, I don't know where this went in and where it came out?
Well, considering what I shoot is a 30 caliber rifle on average, it's pretty clear there's an entrance and an exit.
But what I'm saying is, like, which one's the entry and which one's the exit, right?
Oh, yeah. I definitely know what hit and what came out through.
Yeah, exactly. So, the fact that they couldn't determine, the entry and exit wound on the back of his head, it to me is just like one of those crazy parts of the story.
Especially since the fact that I was listening to you guys say something about how they redacted their statement about how the fact that there was 2 entry wounds to the 1 entry wound later. That didn't make any sense to me because I've heard previous videos prior to that. And I'm a lot younger than you guys. I'm in
Oh,
my
easy.
early
How much
30s.
younger? How old do you think we are?
I don't know. I think you guys in your 40s.
You motherfucker. I thought you'd think I
Hey,
was 21.
I'm in my 30s. Like, I'm like,
All right.
that would make me 10 years older. That's not too much older.
All right. I'm not in my 40s yet, but I'm close.
I love it. Thanks for calling in, dude. Appreciate it. Enjoy shooting your high caliber rifles, and
Oh, yeah, man.
hopefully you have
My
some
pleasure.
exits and entries with your boys in blue.
I'd rather.
So somebody said up there that the Secret Service driver appears to point the gun at Kennedy's head right after he gets shot. Yes, but the angles of cameras are a funny thing, right? Like if you're the driver and you're truly unaware and now you realize you're under attack or the president's under attack, his instinct may be to turn from where he heard the gunfire from, like the last shot maybe, who knows, and he's reaching the gun back to prevent any more shots or address the threat or where he perceived the threat to be coming from, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think for me, the whole smoking gun thing is the single bullet theory thing.
Scott Rogers killed Kennedy. Let's roll Lopez. Oh my gosh, you guys are killing me with the comments tonight. I love it. That's why I like Night Shift, because
I like how they weight, like they talk about the weight of the brain, like before
they
and
had
after. That was pretty.
a fully formed and uninjured brain waiting to be photographed.
And they show you like the picture. They show you the one picture from the hospital of his head, and then they show you the autopsy picture of his head, and you're like, that's not the same.
It's not the same head.
That's not the same head.
There's no. I mean, you show up. These doctors initially called the wound to the throat an entry wound, no doubt about it. And then, what it would make sense. It could make sense that the entry was in the neck, but it was too. At first, like, could it go in the neck and then zip up and come out the head? Yes, in theory, it could. But he's holding his neck where it seems like that first, a wound is. I can't say first, but here he's holding it. And you know how he passes through the sign, right? And then it seems to be a significant period of time after that, then the back right side of the head explodes basically, which is very indicative of an exit wound.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it this way: if the force of that bullet went into the skull like that, what do you think the front of the face is going to look like? It's going to blow his fucking face off.
Yes, which in the autopsy photos, which the documentary basically alludes to the potential film records, like people questioning the type of film used and all that stuff, and there's discrepancies about who actually took the photos, why, what ones were released to the public and why, versus things that whatever would have been more damning.
Yeah. Do we have any snipers that are listening? I saw somebody out there had a comment that looked like they might have like some sniper training of some. If you do,
Amber says she's calling. Amber says she's calling.
Is Amber calling? No, we got nothing coming through on the phone right now. So.
Lies. Amber's lying, as usual.
As per usual. That commercial.
What if she never lied about calling in?
Always. Every episode.
So like, what if she's just got like massive fingers and she keeps dialing the wrong number?
Is this her in Tillamook?
Are you in Tillamook? Just answer it. Who cares who it is? Talk to anybody but Mike.
I've called twice.
Whoa!
Hey.
Yeah.
First of all, chill out.
Hey,
with the
wait,
attitude.
Nate Mo, if you're a sniper with a high five, put the phone number back
Nate
up on
Mo
there.
is not a sniper.
Oh, never mind.
I was like, I'm not a sniper.
Well,
I'm
debatable.
feisty, but I'm not that feisty.
Debatable.
Yeah, I know, huh? you would know. Okay, anyway, so seriously.
Amber's calling in live from a local Buffalo Wild Wings with plenty of activity in the back.
I wish.
25-cent Tuesdays.
I can hear last row back there.
No, that's just my kitchen. Oh my gosh. Okay, so but seriously.
Yep.
So when you're looking at the documentary, and you can see it's not no big old rifle, nothing like that. It's a small pistol, and you can see it pointing towards the president underneath the right arm of the driver, and you see it for a split second, and it disappears. And the driver doesn't even react like people would react, like duck. I mean, they would like react knowing shots were coming at them. He didn't react at all.
Well, I would argue that because we're actually trying to get this guest on that he was transporting money in a truck, and these guys try to ambush his truck, and they like shoot at him. And
I
he's
saw
like,
that one.
he's totally cool, calm and collect, and he's like,
No,
call
he still
Jimmy.
like starts breathing hard, and you see him like puff up a little bit. So he still reacted. Plus, he knew he was in a bulletproof vehicle.
Yeah.
So that is a little different.
All
This
right.
dude's just sitting there.
So
wide
you're
open, like-
thinking, Amber, that the driver smoked JFK
Yes.
right in the face, right in front of his
Right in front of the
wife,
camera?
in front of the camera.
Yes.
I think that's
Yes.
too.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Why not?
All right,
Because the
listen.
cameras are hella shitty. And
Okay.
why do you think she starts crawling towards the back of the car? She's getting away from the gun.
Because she
Wouldn't
didn't
she
want her
have spoken
husband's
up?
brain on her lap anymore.
Well, exactly. But you think she would go for like the people in the car to protect her? No, she's going back. She's going backwards to get away from the gun.
Yeah, didn't they kill her too? Didn't she die like in a plane crash or something?
Probably some. I think so. I don't know.
Did she? I don't know. What happened to
I
his
think
wife?
so.
Jacqueline.
And how come no one's asking about the
happened to Jacqueline
babushka
Kennedy?
lady?
The what lady?
The babushka lady, the chick in the coat that was all like this really like finely dressed woman that was like standing there all of a sudden, and they got her in one picture, but then no one's ever been able to contact her, get hold of her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people in that photograph. There's the dude
Right.
with the Secret Service badge that's like off in the distance under the bridge. Like this, who
Right.
knows? But that's not weird to
Exactly.
have Secret Service people
But-
along the route, though. But
But that's one person though that has not ever been identified, whereas like I think 99% of everybody else has. But also, with that said, I still do believe yes, it came from that gun, from the driver. And you guys are cops, you know people die from one gunshot, wound to the head. But with that said, the other shots were just to throw people off.
I
That's
don't
my-
know, man.
that's what I'm
an
saying.
interesting theory, one that I've never heard until tonight. But hey,
It looks like she died in her sleep in Manhattan, 64
Oh,
years
okay.
old. So yeah.
Yeah, just recently, like a few years ago, right?
At the end
Anyways,
of the
that's all I
day-
wanted to say because
at the end of the day, if JFK and the Secret Service had been briefed by Commander Dale Brown of Detroit Dust, none of this would be happening. We wouldn't even be having this conversation.
you're right.
So that's all I got to say.
Anyways, yes, well, thank you for hearing me out because I wasn't getting my point across in comments. So I'm going to go back to harassing
very
you in
much.
the comments.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
bye.
Amber.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I saw that.
I just love it.
It's quick cut off.
It's just cut off.
Jimmy wanted me to be like, "Hey, Amber, I've got a personal question for you." And then she went. When she said, "What is it?" He was gonna hang up on her.
Feel free to call in. George Bush Sr., go back to that comment there, Elijah, because somebody made a comment about that. I've heard different theories about George Bush Sr. too.
Oh, we're not allowed to
Had
say
something
that,
to do with
dude. That's what got us kicked off.
Is
We're
it?
not allowed to bring names into it.
I'm just reading a comment.
I think if we say that we think that a person did a thing,
I don't know.
I don't think it matters. I think this one already gets kicked off,
All
so I
of
think you're
this
good.
is non-factual and just for comedy.
Yeah, this is like two
totally This
cops
is a
on night
comedy
shift
sketch.
chatting.
Everything that we have said is a joke.
This is a bunch of made up nonsense.
Well, it is nonsense. It's night shift. It's not like we really researched anything here. We
not
watched
like
a movie and we talked.
We just
about
watched a
it.
documentary and we're just chatting about it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I
what is
keep
this,
yelling at
Columbine?
the mic.
Jeez.
Sorry. Oh man! Oh my gosh! Too soon. Too soon.
Oh man, I don't think it's ever
ordered
too
it.
soon for a good Columbine
George
joke.
Bush. George Butch.
George Bush.
ordered it.
Babushka lady was a stripper at Jack Ruby's club.
Okay, so
Oh,
here's
maybe
two
that's
questions,
cool.
right? They didn't address this in the documentary. What they did not address Ruby's motivation whatsoever in taking out Oswald.
Right.
They really didn't go into that in the documentary at all.
What happened to Ruby? Did he like die in jail or?
He ended up dying in jail of a medical condition, I think.
Really?
He got Epstein. The Zapruder film. Who is Zapruder? Has anybody ever dug into him? That's another question that came up to me because a lot of the footage didn't come out for a lot of years. People never, if you weren't there in Dealey Plaza and see the president get executed, assassinated, I guess is a better word, you didn't see it. It was years and years later that the Zapruder film was even released to the public. But who is Zapruder?
Huh.
I don't know. It's a question I've never really asked myself.
I didn't know that Jack Ruby owned a nightclub, like a stripping
that.
club. Which
Yeah, he had
isn't
mafia
that like
connections.
isn't that when mafia, like total mafia shit right there. But it's pretty fucking dope.
Augustin Arquebecu says J.D. Tippett was the body that was JFK, body that went to Washington, body switch. What? This is where it gets a little too complex for me. Body switches and stuff. I don't know, I feel like it's definitely obvious that JFK was alive. He was assassinated.
Yeah.
That Oswald, if nothing else, was involved as a fall guy, whether he wanted to be or not, given any number of circumstances. That there was other people involved, and that the ultimate why lies behind the people that were assigned to the Warren Commission who were directly with the CIA.
And who were like, one dude was fired by JFK.
Yes.
He was a CIA guy that was fired by JFK.
No axe to grind there, figuring out who killed your enemy.
Right. We got another caller on the line? Oh, I heard the phone ring. You just hung up on him. It was Amber.
Well, I don't know. These are our things. Will we ever really know? Do you think we'll ever really know?
I think at some point somebody will know. I mean, what was it, 2029 that everything was supposed to be declassified anyway? You know what? I think comeuppance are a thing. And,
maybe.
There's just too much information out there. There's too many people.
Everybody involved would be dead now.
But if you talk about you remember G.I. Joe, now you know, knowing is half the battle.
Yeah.
I think knowing truly is half the battle. And the more the people listen to things like the Joe Rogan show and start questioning things, or people start to look for real information versus fake information. I know that we're in a time where you say what's real and what's not. I mean, then it just makes you have to be a little bit more of a critical thinker. And it just makes you, do a little bit more due diligence. But I think we're kind of in this era where there's too much information, and it would be nearly impossible to cover things up with all the technology, with all the advancements and things. So I think a lot more things will just come out.
I think some of the stuff, and we're not even going to get into it, but go look into the stuff that came out from Project Veritas about some of our current cultural circumstances, and it should not surprise you that if they're trying to get away with this stuff now, what could they have gotten away with back then when information passed so much slower to the people?
I thought forever that Austria was just overthrown by Hitler. It wasn't until recently that I learned that Austria voted Hitler in by 90%.
Oh yeah.
Voted him in by 90%.
Last question of the night for me to you.
Wait, I have one thing to say.
What?
Ooh. Say that question. I was typing in my notes for the clips, the timestamps, and JFK autocorrected to UFO.
What?
So aliens.
Boom, 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 boom.
Truth is out there. My question to you, Eric Tansey, is we see these things like Operation Northwood. We see, I'm not sure if clear evidence is the right word, but definitely suspicious circumstances that warrant a deeper look, because the evidence in the JFK assassination is not. The Warren Commission should not have had the final word, and I don't think that they and even though they declared Oswald to be the lone operator and the guilty party, the evidence, the chain, the very from a cop perspective, the very chain of evidence involved in this case is a shit show.
Yeah.
So just from that perspective, it deserves at least a second look to really understand who and why, okay? So there's that. So you look at what our government is capable of, what it has done, and you served in the military, you served as a cop. Does any of that stuff make you feel regret doing any of that? Do you feel man, I really am not interested, I'm really bummed out that I represented this kind of nonsense? Or do you feel you can separate the nefarious side of things from the honorable side of things?
When I was over there, I had one of my sergeants was very adamant that we should not have been in Afghanistan. And for me, I talked to the people that were in Afghanistan, and a lot of them were happy that we were there, and the majority of everybody. I didn't, but of course, are they going to tell an American troop that, man, I wish you weren't here? I'm one of the bad guys. I was a bad guy until you got here. I don't know. I mean, I always thought, and I was in Afghanistan in 2005 when I first got there, and I kind of felt like this is a stupid war that we should not be involved in at this point. But at the same time, I wanted to, you've got this whole 9/11 drive, right? Mm-hmm. But you're also questioning the whole Iraq thing. I mean, it was always questioning, and I really hated KBR. We called it Keep Bush Rich, which was the little chow company that was making fuck tons of more money than we were, just to serve us food. And that always upset me too. But I mean, I never felt like guilty about it or anything. And I never did anything unethical, and I was never asked to do anything unethical. And I do feel like the people that we were going after were really bad human beings. I mean, we had evidence that they were bad human beings. I mean, we talked to victims that were tormented. I mean, we saw the suicide bombings of innocent civilians. So we knew that these guys were bad guys. So that doesn't bother me at all. And I don't. What does that sound?
We've got some breaking news.
Breaking news.
Gentlemen, it's a newly released photo.
Okay. Oh, Lázaro Lopez was on the line.
Jimmy, I thought it was serious.
I know. It's Lázaro Lopez was on the lawn.
In the last row.
In the last row.
Man,
classic.
How does he still look so young?
It's all that beer he drinks.
Climb into the last row.
I don't know, but I mean, like, have you ever, did you ever sit in trials where people get off and there's just no explanation of why they got off? And you're just like, well, why does this person get to get off? And how did whose strings did they pull to get off of this? Or did you ever work? As a law enforcement officer, I never worked in an investigation that I don't think was like the best and most thorough that everybody could do. Like there was no O.J. Simpson style shoddy investigations. And I don't know, maybe Raleigh's just that good of a police department, but I always thought that, man, I mean, we really covered everything. We really questioned things. We really questioned the people. We really talked to everybody. And, the evidence is what the evidence is. And I think the outcomes of the cases, were never, I never thought, oh shit, that guy's guilty. And I don't think he was guilty. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any recollection about cases like that. I mean, I see the inconsistencies. I mean, sometimes the explanation is just raw ignorance, but sometimes I think there's malevolence involved. I mean, like there's evil people that have both selfish ambition or ill intent for any number of reasons, and the consistency with which things are investigated or understood is all over the map because humans are humans. And when it comes to, here's the reality, when it comes to the President of the United States, there is no more heavily guarded person. I mean, the amount of effort that goes into, even back in the early 60s, even then, there was Secret Service would show up ahead of any visit. They're checking the route. They're clearing buildings. They're setting people up in positions. Everything is covered. And so it would be a very fine needle to thread. But sometimes there's just weaknesses that just aren't seen, and they're exposed because humans are humans, and we just don't think of it. And how did that happen? I don't know. That's how development of security and policies and laws advance, is like, oh, we didn't think about that before, or we'd never seen this before, so now we can address it. In this case, I feel like the very nature of what we're looking at in front of us indicates there are things and reasons behind why JFK was assassinated that are being intentionally kept from us. I try to look at the facts and not just theory. Factually, we are being, truth about the assassination is being withheld from us. Therefore, to think that there are actors that were involved on our side is likely because of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would out them because we would want to blame it on the enemy. We would want to blame that on that outside source. There's no harm in identifying who assassinated the president and then prosecuting that accordingly and disclosing all the records as a matter of fact about the case. But the fact that it's not indicates there's an issue there that implies a natural distrust of those withholding the information.
Yeah, I mean,
in an investigation, right? Yeah. Like if there's a murder outside of my office tonight, I'm not going to be privy to every bit of evidence or information yet. That's going to come out. But we're talking quite a number of years ago this happened. And to still withhold information is indicative that there's a problem with the evidence. There's a problem with the concept of this one lone gunman. There's a problem with understanding who or why did this. And I'm inherently distrustful of the people withholding it.
Yeah, it's all wild to me. Like I said, if you didn't have anything to hide, why aren't we still investigating it? Why are we so gung ho on certain theories? But yeah, it's fun. I mean, like I said, I don't study this stuff. I watch the documentary, and the guy has an agenda, right? Like he really believes himself that the CIA did it. So I would have liked to have seen in the documentary maybe some more like people questioning his theories. Because I always get wary when I see a documentary where it's only one perspective and they don't try to bring in a separate argument.
Yeah, a true documentary in the sense of like unbiased, someone without an agenda to kind of make the film go to their perspective.
I also would have liked to see like more references in the facts of what he brought up. Like, okay, like this is what we said, but now here's some science to back that up. They didn't really go into entry and exit wounds. I would have liked to have known, like, I don't, as a cop, I've seen a lot of entry wounds and sometimes it's very hard to even find an entry wound, and sometimes like, I can remember one case specifically where the entry wound was up here in the clavicle area and there was no exit wound, but we were like, well, if he got shot point blank range in the clavicle, where did the bullet go? And they ended up finding the bullet down in the hip. Yeah. On the opposite side of the body. So the bullet literally went in, dove all the way down to the hip. So, but I remember that bullet hole being very tiny. Also, I had a gentleman die on me that I didn't know was shot. Because when you get shot in the armpit, it kind of seals everything. As the bullet passes in, it kind of like sealed the edge, the entry wound. So there wasn't any blood really coming out. And the hole was like super small, but like internally, he bled out in minutes. But as far as an injury wound that's just massively gaping, I've never seen that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I have.
I've seen so many suicides, man. I've seen so many people that have shot themselves in the head.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see where the bullet went in, and you can definitely see where the bullet came out. And it's not questionable.
The first thing you notice is where it came out. That's the noticeable wound for sure.
So yeah, I'm still stuck on this whole single bullet theory type thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what do you guys think? I'll tell you what. We'll post a clip of the show on our social media tomorrow. The whole show. We'll post some clips on our YouTube channel. If you haven't followed our YouTube channel yet, if you can't find it by looking for Failure to Stop podcast, it might direct you to my channel. But if you go to my community board on YouTube, where most of you are watching this, you'll see me linking to different clips of our show. Just go that way so that you can subscribe there, hit the notification bell when we upload new clips and content, and follow us there. And on social media, wherever you see this, comment things that the average person doesn't know or think about this, with your perspective on this whole JFK thing now that it's kind of resurrected with this new documentary. Obviously, we're just smoking and joking about this, our take as two former cops and friends just chatting about a documentary that we watched around a topic that connects with law enforcement. Which is
funny, though, because like I know I'm going to get some messages tonight, and I bet you will too. They're just like, you're so fucking stupid, man. I've seen this 1,000,000 times. But like, it's not stupid, dude. I'm not talking on this thing as like a assassination expert. We're just having casual conversation.
This is cool, not a case breakdown
to disagree. Like, you don't have to get like super mad at me. I love that when people like if it's something like on these night shift shows where it's just us smoking and joking. We do have what's his code name? BC Sanders. Man, it's so confusing when some people have a code name.
Yeah, tune in Friday. He's coming back.
He's coming back. Popular demand. I think that was one of our bigger shows of December or whenever that was, but it was a pretty good show, and he had a lot of information that we just didn't really get to, and now we're gonna have Mike back in action, so the show's gonna be 10 times better. You were out with COVID, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Or the flu.
Maybe
the flu,
something.
whatever it was.
Flurona.
A Flurona. And so it's going to be a really good show Friday, and that's going to be exciting. And he's actually going to be in my studio, Mike. So I'm going to get a
lot
little
of people are
autograph.
talking about this Secret Service guy killing Kennedy on accident.
Yeah.
As if is the theory behind this that he got shot by Oswald first, and that might not have been fatal. And in trying to defend the president, he fires his gun accidentally, and that kills the president. Is that the
And they want to
theory?
cover it up because.
And then they just want to brush it under and just point it to somebody else because that would be too hard for the country to accept that it was an accident.
Maybe it is.
I've never heard that.
Maybe it is that simple.
I don't know. I don't know if that's what they're asserting. Interesting, though.
The stuff with the bullet not really having anything like nothing, it's just like unharmed, which like you never see. That's what gets me. That
yeah. You know, they couldn't. It couldn't have been just some random thing. That's for sure.
I like how Oswald just like the only videos that we have of Oswald is him just being like, I didn't kill the president. I didn't kill the president.
Like I didn't shoot anybody, man.
I didn't shoot anybody. You know, like I feel like if you just shot somebody, usually you just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. Yeah, and then the Jack Ruby angle. It's this. There's a lot of layers to this, like we said.
And then why do you leave your gun behind? That's another question I have. Why do you leave your gun behind? Like you take the shot and then you leave the gun? I guess. But that seems like a lot of evidence you're leaving behind. But maybe back then they weren't watching like crime documentaries like we do, and we have crime figured out now. But
crazy. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to Night Shift and hanging out with us. Go share this episode when the audio is going to come out tomorrow. So when it comes out, hey, play it as a shift. If you're a cop and you follow us, play it as a shift so that you guys can all get in arguments about JFK tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Order some wings at roll call. Handle your calls and then circle up, listen to the show, and argue about JFK.
All right, guys. We'll see you on
Amber
Friday.
says thank the donators. Again, I've thanked them as they came in. I'll be quicklier next time. Yeah, thank you.
Well, how about
everybody.
this? I'll thank you guys when you have 243 watching and 221 likes on the like button. If that jumps up to like closer to 243, I'll thank everybody for everything.
Yeah.
Love You Bald Eagle Transy. Speaking of that, our new sponsor. I got my package in. Have you got your package in yet?
Manscaped. Yeah.
I'll post a picture of my Manscaped package. I just got it in. I was so excited. I laid it all out and took a nice, beautiful picture of it. And I'll share that exclusively on my Eric Tanzi official Instagram story, right? Maybe is that good, Mike?
Yeah, sure.
You weren't too happy about that picture, were you?
I'm fine with the picture.
It's not classy.
Just not impressed.
Oh, you're not impressed by it? Okay. Well, we'll see what the Wolfpack thinks. I won't post it on Failure to Stop because it is a little bit provocative. But I'll post it on my story. Man, I don't even know if I want to do that now. Mike's got me scared.
You're not trying to make lieutenant, are you?
No, I'm not trying to make lieutenants. Who cares?
Not anymore. Nobody can tell that guy what to do, except the Clayton, North Carolina moms.
They're disappointed in me.
Hey, go drop a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We love you guys, and we will see you next time.